Forgot it.
Play it again.
Forgot it. Reroll. Re-rack. Welcome to HiLo Cast at FantasticFest. We're off to a great start.
Your hair looks the same in that picture. My hair looks radically different.
I got a nice head of hair for a man my age. That's all I'm going to say. We're talking FantasticFest. Paul, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are y'all doing?
We're doing good. I mean, FantasticFest has been a pretty. I think we're in a different phase of our lives right now. We're in the middle age kind of phase.
I like to think of it as the back half.
We're in the back nine, if you will. But in our younger years, I mean, it was a yearly event that we look forward to every year. We had so many traditions involved. It was so much fun. Nowadays, we got to mostly do it remote and stuff. But I mean, even last year, we still got down there and saw a couple movies, and it was still as fun as it ever was, I think.
How many decades do you think we got before we bust out a camera and start filming animal birth? You think
doing it? YouTube
20, 30 years?
YouTube it right now, and you'll see it, I'm sure.
We're talking about how long till we do it.
Yeah.
You and me, us. Well, I mean, hey, I wouldn't mind living a life on the farm, honestly.
In our lifetime, Paul, my guess is that the birth of a new cow will be a significant event. Just the fact that that cows are still having children, we still have life on this planet. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it'll be a big deal. It's gonna be like baby cow born.
It's like Children of Men, but with cows. The first cow to give birth in a decade.
It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be huge.
So memories of FantasticFest. Do you have any fond memories of FantasticFest, Paul, that you could think of? I'm gonna pull one up here.
Yeah.
This is.
I mean, that's a terrible picture of me, but sure.
Look at me, Paul. I look worse. Don't even try and deny it.
One of my favorite memories is when Tim League dressed up as a lobster.
Oh, I got that picture, Paul. You want to see it?
Yes.
Where is he dressed up as a lobster?
Where'd you put this little collage together? This is nice.
It's on Google. Next time we do it, Paul, I'll have Tim League dressed as a lobster. That is a good one. But that was for the premiere of The Lobster, as I recall. I mean, that's one of the golden things about FantasticFest is that it's fun. Like you hear like Toronto and Venice and these film festivals all sound like, oh, you gotta get there and stand in line and give a standing ovation for 20 minutes. FantasticFest is always fun. There's always a party going on or a lot of conversations about movies or dinners. It's great.
I've seen plenty of fat guys at FantasticFest, and I don't get up and cheer for 20 minutes.
I don't care how unfat they are in real life, really.
I don't care how he's big, but he's not that big.
So today we're talking about a movie that's premiering at FantasticFest this weekend and going to be streaming FantasticFest at Home. It's called A Life on the Farm. And I thought, we'll play the trailer to give the people at home a taste of what they can expect.
Follow me down. I've got something to show you.
I don't know where to even begin with this story. When my grandpa passed away, we went to his house and started clearing out his possessions. And one of my aunts found a videotape.
Have you got your video set up? I'm ready to play you some lovely pictures. Hi there! Charles Carson, two-man farm.
This farmer, Charles Carson, a neighbor of my grandparents, made this feature-length home movie.
Hey, what are you doing here?
It is a truly special work of art.
I know that he did take sort of quite bizarre photographs of things, like Monty Python, really, when you think about it.
It is a little bit reminiscent of the serial killer Ed Gein.
I can't tell if this guy is a genius or a psychopath.
It's not just exactly how I remember it as a kid. It's even more insane.
Go on, out we come. Here we go. So all I can say is go away to the shops, buy yourself some beef.
He started to show us a lot of very weird, rather macabre, dark pictures.
It looks like a horror movie.
And you have a jolly good look at a placenta.
He'll go down in history.
There's more to it than that. I kept watching, I couldn't believe what I'd seen.
I mean, it is a twist.
Yeah, it totally
It's a
is. I was
twist.
not expecting that at all.
Oh, it's marvelous, isn't it?
It's it's starting again. Sorry.
What's starting?
It's a great documentary. Fantastic Fest only really started doing documentaries. I feel, it used to be a niche. Like, you'd get like one documentary there. It would be super weird, but I feel like they've kind of broadened their horizon a little bit to include documentaries. And this one
they had some great documentaries. Remember the Kong or the King of Kong?
That was a South by Southwest documentary, technically. I won't fault you. It came out in 2008, so it's a good pull, no matter what.
The haunted house one's the one I always think of.
The haunted house. I always think of the final member, about the guy who's trying to donate his penis to the penis.
The penis
museum.
one's good.
Yeah, I can still remember him goes, "It needs to be the legal length, otherwise we won't accept it." But Alive on the Farm,
tattoo America on his dick.
Yeah, that's right. The American who's also obsessed with his penis being in the penis museum.
Surprise, surprise, one of us.
But Alive on the Farm, it tells the story of Charles Carson, who says his name over and over again throughout the movie. And like, it's just, he self-produced this 2-hour feature about his life on a farm. He's all there by himself, basically, and then distribute it to his neighbors. And then the filmmaker, Oscar Harding, his granddad was a neighbor of Charles. And when his granddad passed away, they just happened to find this tape in the house, and it kind of snowballed from there. But it's one of the, when I heard about it, or when I watched this documentary, I thought, well, how did I never hear about this before? Because I kind of feel like it kind of came about in 2019. I go, we would have been all over this sort of thing. Like, it's right up our alley.
Oh, big time. Do you guys have anything like this? I mean, this one has such more of a home movie feel to it than, like, we were talking about Winnebago Man and things like that. And like, that one is, obviously this underground thing, but it was a commercial, right? It was obviously not a lot of budget behind it, but they were shooting a commercial endeavor, right? And I mean, do you guys have any home movies or anything like that where you remember but where did it come from? What the fuck is it? Like
nothing to this degree. I mean, I definitely, shot my own home movies on the same kind of camcorder, especially in the summertime when we were there at the house by ourselves. I would do like Godzilla stop motions and, film my sister running around and shit like that all the time. So I get the feeling of when you're bored and you got nothing going on, that's like something that's an easy fix. I'll just make my own film.
My uncle is Charles. I'm convinced it's the same.
Your Uncle Frank.
The same energy, Frank. Yeah. I told you about him pretending to be Santa Claus and jumping over the fence from the neighbor's yard who he was in their yard somehow. And my dad, he goes, he's here. And it's just my drunk uncle in a full Santa suit. Yeah. I
think from that era, like that's the previous generation, every family has an uncle or, an aunt like that who's just a little eccentric. They love, I'm probably that uncle in my family, honestly.
I hope so. I hope I'm that uncle.
I hope so. Paul, what did you think of this movie overall?
I thought he was just kind of like a regular guy. And
you kept saying creative. That he is a regular guy, but he was very creative, and I think that's kind of the point. Is that But go on. Sorry,
my dog's eating a thing here. Hold on.
This is like Charles Carson. I'm on Kuman Farm. My dog's here eating a thing. I'm Charles Carson. That's Digit Carson, my dog.
Yeah, she found a water bottle and she won't stop chewing it. Put it. I thought it was a great little thing he did. I mean, what else are you gonna like? He had nobody right at the end there, so you have a video camera. What else are you gonna do, right? You gotta work with the animals, right?
But besides that, he also made little short films within, with the skeletons and him dressed as a Bobby coming out to the fire and all that. It's pretty remarkable.
I feel like this is the one we found, but there's probably thousands of hours of footage out there from other weird Carsons that have done the same thing.
You'll hear a plug here in the interview that's coming up with the documentarian himself that Yeah, there might have been a lot more tapes of Charles that we will never see the light of day, unfortunately.
It's astounding. There was a treasure trove of Charles Carson tapes that are probably now lost to time, unfortunately, but
So
they
sad,
existed.
Paul.
But
of all of us, right? So the idea here is that the energy is neighborly, right? He's a neighbor, he's a nice guy, but he's sharing this thing that he made. And like I don't fucking talk to my neighbors. I don't know about your setup. You guys moved to the new house and everything. Obviously, everybody there is new because it's a new development. But the only one of us that has a Charles Carson living next door, I'm 100% is Paul. Paul, have you ever? Because I know you've been on your neighbors' computers and things and seen some things and had some interactions. Who would you say it has tapes like these that you will see after their death?
And how would you react to getting a tape like this, Paul, from your neighbor?
Well, I would be honored and I would cherish it. But none of my neighbors are like technically inclined. They don't do video. I mean,
to your knowledge.
Well, no, I know they don't do video.
They'd ask you to help them out if they did. So.
Yeah, one lady could barely use her phone. I mean, she literally today she got stuck in some kind of Zoom thing. She couldn't get out of it.
She was trapped in there.
She's stuck in Zoom.
I think that's another thing that's fascinating about this. This is like a 76-year-old man, fully self-producing these tapes, and they include editing, voiceovers, still photographs, the whole 9 yards, music even. And we didn't ask the documentarian, but they assumed that he kind of edited all, either VCR to VCR or camera to camera. Like that's crazy. Like that's really something, especially as an elderly person on a farm in 1994.
Yeah, it was tough. I remember doing that with like a DV camera attached to a VCR and like having to go and rewind and this and that. You know what I mean? Like it took forever, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine doing any of that without a computer. Like just to make it makes so much easier. I mean, just the hassle of doing it. It's all manual. Like, but I guess he's a farmer, so he's used to doing manual stuff. Even though he did some pretty creative things that's self-propelled. What's it called? That.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Very cool.
Well, I mean, the skeleton was driving and it wasn't self-propelled.
That's even cooler. You got a skeleton to drive it, I think. Like it. What would you recommend this movie overall, Paul? I think it's a great one for sure.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I've for me, I think I went to documentaries at FantasticFest specifically, like whenever I went, because I remember I saw King of Kong, I saw that penis one, I saw the documentary about pyrotechnics in Mexico. Do you remember that one? It was fireworks.
I remember you saw that one. You saw that one by yourself, or maybe you saw it with Shannon. You both really liked it. I think I missed that one that year.
Yeah, it was great. I think I always go to the documentaries. I probably would have gone to this one if I went to the fest this year. But
thinking
but
about
we all got to see it together in a room together, and that's the important thing. Is like something like this is going to play to a crowd. We were lucky enough, us three, to be in a room together to watch this together.
So we could experience, we could laugh, and then kind of take the journey together. But imagine being in a room of 200 people. Like it would really be.
I think you get sick.
Well, Paul, didn't you? Joe Biden said that we're out of the pandemic. Don't talk about that. Right
There's hundreds of people still dying every day.
Oh, Paul, please stop talking about that right now.
It's over. You don't go on 60 Minutes and say it's getting worse.
I just remember after every Fantastic Fest, after going to those theaters for a week or whatever long it is, you get sick no matter what.
And that's the old days. Now it's over.
It's over. But
now you don't get sick. Okay.
But you were getting sick there because you were eating like bar food for 7 days straight, drinking every night, being in the dark for like 8 hours, 9 hours at a time during the day. Your immune system's going to shut down that situation, Paul.
You need D.
Fighting all that disease.
You need vitamin D for sure. So the movie is called A Life on the Farm. It is at Fantastic Fest. It's also at FantasticFest at Home, which is their streaming. Highly recommended. Hopefully it gets a big release. I feel like if it's on the right streaming service and it comes out at the right time, it could be a big hit because it checks a lot of boxes for people watching, I feel.
Is there a streaming service that's just documentaries? There's got to be, right?
Docu, I don't know, film.
PPP public.
PPP public
broadcasting
service.
Something with an S.
But not all documentaries are good. I know I've seen some bad ones where I checked out before finishing them. I would have finished this one for sure. I mean, they kind of like they kind of sell you on a twist on the end, but it didn't really hit for me. I don't know about y'all. Did y'all hit like that twist at the end for this one or no?
I don't want to spoil the twist for anybody who's watching and will watch it someday, but I think like when you initially start the movie, you automatically your head goes, well, the twist is going to be this man's a monster. Like he's got some nefarious stuff on these tapes. When in actuality, it's a very lighthearted,
And I had kind of forgotten about the selling point of the twist by the time the twist came around because I was wrapped up in his personal journey and story. And then when it does happen, it's a great, I don't know, I got a kick out of it.
I got a big kick out of it. I go, because it's like the tape ends and it cuts over to a different program and you think, oh, he just recorded over something. But no, that's something
that's very important as well.
Yeah, because why else would he include it on his precious tape?
That's amazing.
He's a true character, someone who, spread these to his neighbors, would probably get a kick out of people watching it today. So now we're gonna play the interview we did with the filmmaker Oscar Harding. He's also in the documentary, so enjoy that. All right, we are joined now by Oscar Harding, director of A Life on a Farm. Oscar, welcome to the HiLo Cast.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going great, man. How are you doing today?
Yeah, not too bad. It's pretty balmy up here in Wisconsin, so it's still the summer. The summer's just not ended. Bring on the fall.
We're in Texas. We're in Texas here, and it's about to hit 100 degrees.
Yeah, you guys have definitely got it worse than me. So I'm wearing t-shirts and shorts. Not dressing up.
Oh yeah, you're making the right call. Dress as light and comfortable as you can when you get to Austin. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the documentary. It's not premiering at FantasticFest, right? I see it's played at a couple of different film festivals.
Yeah, so this is the Texas premiere of A Life on the Farm. We had our world premiere up in Milwaukee, which was nice. It's the place I go home back in April. But no, it's going to be a busy couple of weeks. We have got, including FantasticFest, we've got 10 festivals across 3 continents in 6 different countries. So wow. It never ends. I mean, it's a nice, issue to have, but it's a lot of work on the festival circuit. I'd warn any filmmakers who are trying to get on the festival circuit. It's your life basically for a couple months. So
this is kind of like the zenith really of making a film for film festivals. Like you go through all the production work and all that, and then finally you get to, now we got to spend a year presenting it.
Honestly, the absolute highlight of this for us is going to be FantasticFest. So it's the big one. We've been building up. We've had some incredible festivals thus far, and the reception's been wonderful. But FantasticFest is the one I've always wanted to do for years now. So I'm really, really excited to come.
Outstanding. So the documentary is called A Life on the Farm. It's about a found footage that you personally found, really, as a young man, about this farmer in Somerset, England, named Charles Carson, and it's just a guy who documented his life day to day and made a 2-hour feature-length film to give to his neighbors. Like that's really the craziest thing is that if you were a neighbor of this guy, you got one of these tapes and it's just off the wall, like it's off the wall crazy, and you describe it as like a mix between Monty Python and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and there is some very like initially. I mean, my friend here, we watched it together. And initially, like when we're watching it, like the creepy vibes are very evident early on, but by the end, like you go, this is such a heartfelt like story. So can you talk a little bit about the production of the documentary, about like just how it kind of went from I saw it as a young boy and like to when you saw it as an older adult and thought, well, I need to kind of get this out to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like you've gone on the journey that we intended, because the editor has been attached to this since the very beginning. And, she and I sat down and I wanted to make sure that the audience goes on the exact same journey we did from the discovery, and I don't think there's any point hiding behind it, but you laugh at it at the start because you really lack context, as did we. To by the end of it, he's your favorite person, and you just fall in love with the guy, and you realize how much depth and substance he had, because it was my aunt who uncovered this when my late grandfather passed away in 2006. So just to give a little bit of geographical context to those people who don't really know Somerset that well, I assume a lot of your audience would have seen Hot Fuzz.
Yes.
Possibly Straw Dogs, the Dustin Hoffman movie back in the 70s. So this is one of the reasons we made this movie. There's not a whole load of movies that are made in that part of England. So this is kind of a love letter to that area where I kind of grew up, as much as it is to tell the remarkable story of this incredible man. But I guess Somerset is maybe Britain's equivalent to the Deep South here in the States. I suppose it's probably the best way to describe it, because a lot of this is just the middle of nowhere. But my grandfather passed away in 2006. I was maybe 10 at the time. And we're clearing out his possessions, and my aunt finds this videotape. And she digitizes it, thank goodness. But yeah, she and my other aunt and my dad had this vague recollection of their dad showing them this footage. And, they had this vague, context for what it was all about, but they didn't really remember it that well. And then we sit down, me and my kid sister and my dad, and I'm still 10 at this point, and it's already pretty extraordinary. And halfway through, my dad switched off the tape. And then we moved house, lost our digitized copy of the tape. And it just became the stuff of legend that, occasionally got brought up. But, it's this thing that I think obsession is the wrong word, because that sounds a little unhealthy. But the images, even in that first half, and this is kind of some of the tamer stuff, it was still stuck in my mind. And about a decade later, I had finished college. I'd set up a production company with my two partners who I made this movie with, the other producers, Dom and Ed. And I just happened to bring it up in conversation, and she said, "Oh, well, it's funny you mentioned that, because I've moved house myself recently. I just so happened to have come across the DVD." And when you're a kid, I think you kind of embellish stuff and you exaggerate your memories. And there's no way this is as amazing as I'd remember it being. It's probably quite mundane. So I sit down for the first time in a decade, and it's every bit as extraordinary as I remember it being. And when we describe it as Monty Python meets the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, when you're marketing your movie, you've got to be hyperbolic, right? But I'm sure you guys would agree, it really is the only accurate way to describe this footage that my late grandfather's neighbor, gave to him and everyone else in the village. But I just sat down with my partners, and we realized it would be criminal just to leave this on a shelf. This has to be shown. But at this point, the context is completely lacking. So this was going to be a short doc, and we didn't know how much of a story there'd be. And then, cut to now, we, have tens of thousands of dollars of investment. We have, these big American comedians backing us. We've premiered in different countries around the world, and it's a feature-length film because there was just too much story. It wouldn't fit into a short.
Absolutely. You mentioned Hot Fuzz and that being like a place for Somerset. One of his neighbors so much reminded me of the old man character from Hot Fuzz. You can't understand what he's saying, really.
No, I think you're talking. No, which one are we talking about? Wilfred or Charlie Norman?
It might be Charlie Norman. He's the one who's he looks a little younger for being an old farmer.
Yeah. So that's Charles's first cousin. That's the guy who got him into filmmaking. So we have Charlie to thank for all this, really. And it just meant so much to me to have family involvement in the film, because I think it's fair to say Charlie was probably his best friend and the one who Charles shared everything with creatively. And the most upsetting thing that I have to tell this anecdote in screenings, and it just puts a complete downer on things for people. We were filming Charlie for, I think, the second time. We interviewed him a couple of times to, get some more stories and that kind of thing. As we were packing up, he said, "Well, it's a real shame that you didn't come a couple of years earlier." So we said, "Well, what do you mean?" So apparently he had 200 of Charles's tapes.
Oh my God.
And he thought no one would ever want them. And he, had to clear out, and they were just gone. They're on a landfill somewhere.
Oh my God.
And they're all lost. And, you know, one of the common criticisms I hear about the film from critics, even if they like it, and I completely agree with them on this point, is, you know, we want to see less of all these other people. We want to see more of Charles. And I completely agree. The problem is everything, to my knowledge, that's in the film, you know, give or take maybe a minute here or there, that's it. And I pray that someone in England watches this and they happen to have more footage, because otherwise everything that's in the film, that's all that exists of Charles's work, which is just devastating, to put it mildly.
Absolutely. I mean, just to think, like, just this 1-2 hour feature length is just so jam-packed with elements, like, you know, almost he's doing character work and voiceover and like all the still images. The thought of, well, I've had 200 of his tapes that he's given me throughout the years.
Can you imagine the
treasure
pain
trove
I felt when he said that?
Oh man.
Yeah.
I would have to hope that because of this, that something else will be unearthed.
Oh,
I mean, just
I really hope so. I really do.
Yeah.
Without giving up too much. I mean, there's that aha moment you guys have where there's another version of this, but slightly better quality.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's possible. Did he give them out to like all of his neighbors around
He did,
his farm?
and yeah, he did. It was roughly the same feature-length movie called Life on the Farm.
Mm-hmm.
But he would create custom edits with footage of the different villages. So first of all, that's not easy to do in the 90s when you're in your 60s, 70s. That's a real skill. You know, like I remember being 11 and struggling with a mini DV camcorder. And, that's when you're a young, stupid kid just, figuring this stuff out and playing around. So, to pick up a skill like that and to do it very well at that age in the middle of nowhere when you've got no resources or, support or, industry connections or anything like that, I think makes it all the more impressive that he made this stuff. And the fact that he distributed it to everyone and would edit specifically for them, that really kind of unlocked something for us. Because when I, rediscovered the footage, your first thought is, well, do I have the right to put this out there? Was it meant to be seen? And the more we learned about him, it became very obvious that, obviously I can't speak for the deceased, but, he wanted an audience. He would submit this to festivals and to magazines in the UK and, try and get on TV multiple times. We have a version of America's Funniest Home Videos called You've Been Framed. And he would submit there and he ended up on there as well.
Wow.
And, this is kind of like America's Funniest Home Videos. That you're putting this stuff on, for people to laugh at and laugh with you and to be entertaining. So the more we learned about it, the more it felt like, we've got to get his work out there because he couldn't. I genuinely believe if he was around today, he would be fiddling around with TikTok and he would be putting stuff out on YouTube and he'd be trying Vine, rest in peace, and Instagram stories and Facebook stories, Instagram Reels.
100% watching it, I just thought, well, he was doing TikToks in 1994 before anybody.
Exactly.
Like just funny little videos with some music and some words, and that's it.
I feel people now get his stuff more than they did back then. I really think he would, become some kind of viral star where he's still making his stuff now, or without our help.
Yeah, he'd probably have his own streaming show. At this
Oh,
point.
100. I could easily sing with the Twitch channel. Very easily.
Just an 80-year-old man on Twitch.
But, isn't that great that you could have someone like that? God, I was in the UP this weekend, and I saw a local Inter story, and it was two 70-year-old twin brothers who were just dancing on TikTok and lip-syncing. And they gained a cult following up in the UP.
Yeah, basically the culture finally caught up with him. We're like,
exactly.
Everybody is a star, really. They can be, because we have the technology now in our pockets to record pristine videos and edit them in camera, basically in our phone.
Yeah, and I just think it's all credit to him. We've shown this in Australia, we've shown it in Canada, we're showing it in Poland and Romania and New Zealand in the next couple of weeks. And I just can't wait for audiences to fall in love with him there as well.
I really hope that it finds the audience, because you're right. Like he was definitely looking for an audience, but there's so much heart involved with it. The fact that he edits, specific things, specific villages for specific families. I mean, there's a very touching part with you, where it's like the only way you'd see this person in your life is through this video. And my question with that was like, had you seen that part as a 10-year-old, or did you not experience that until you were 10 years down the line?
If I recall, that is on the second half of the tape.
Mm-hmm. So you had no idea that would even existed until... Right,
exactly. So on a personal, this is a very, very personal piece of filmmaking for me, even though it's not my story. I really didn't want to actually be in the film just because I don't want to take away from Charles's story. This is his work and his life and his legacy. But, part of the problem was a lot of the people who we wanted to interview to find out more about Charles's life, we found out through research they passed away. So there were less and less people as time went on who could really tell his story. And when we did meet these people from different walks of life at the agricultural college he taught at, people in the village who knew him, when he was a lot younger, when he was a lot older, and, the people who, found his stuff before we did, and he had a fan club back in the 90s that both he was unaware of and so were we until about a year into production. Everyone had like a little piece of the puzzle, and it came to the point where I was kind of the only one who could put everything together. So we tried to absolutely minimize my presence in that, because there's some wonderful documentaries I've seen where the directors inserted themselves and it doesn't quite work. And then you have some, beautiful films like Sarah Polley's Stories We Tell, which is a documentary I'd highly recommend. There was a big creative influence for us, where it absolutely works that the filmmaker insert themselves. So we tried really hard to strike that balance.
Another documentary this reminded me of was one from a couple years ago called Winnebago Man.
Yeah.
Which is same setup. It's about found this crazy video of this angry man, and let's go through the process of learning about him. He was fortunately still alive, so they could actually interview him and talk to him and stuff like that. That's another instance where the filmmaker sort of injects himself. I feel like when a story like this is so personal to you, and like, oh, I found this footage, I'm gonna dive deep into it. You're basically the spine of the documentary, like kind of connecting all the parts and the bridges like that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of DNA. Well, first of all, I'm flattered of the comparison. You are one of many people who's made that comparison, and I love that documentary. I'm actually really excited. The director of Winnebago Man is at FantasticFest.
Awesome.
With the documentary he made about Nick and Joe, who were in Winnebago Man, who were in our film, and also produced our film. So yeah, there's a lot of shared DNA, and it's a very flattering comparison.
Nick and Joe, are they the found footage?
Yeah,
guys?
Yeah, they really helped open this up. So we started shooting in 2019, in January 2019, and it was still a short at this point, and we were just starting to figure out who this mysterious man was and the story behind this crazy footage. And then I got a job in the States. So I moved over summer 2019, and I said to the guys, don't worry, I'll be back next summer. We'll finish this up. Well, we all know what happened there.
Of course.
But, just before this little thing called COVID started to, become a big thing, I was stuck in the States, and I thought, well, it would be a waste of time just to not have the cameras rolling. And it just so happened that Nick and Joe and Everything Is Terrible, who are also in the film, happened to be coming to Milwaukee within a few weeks of each other. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be great to get a more modern perspective on this and see how well this footage travels to a modern day audience in America? Because this is so uniquely British, painfully uniquely British. That how's it going to play? And we started to find out that Americans just absolutely love this, and there was something really universal about this. And Nick and Joe loved it so much that they wanted to come on board as executive producers. And then we wanted them in the film, and it really just helped to open this up and show how much of a legacy Charles had long, since his passing, in a way that I don't think he could have imagined in his wildest dreams. Back in the 90s, he's there making this stuff on his farm. It's just him. It's a creative outlet, while he's trying to run the farm on his own and look after his chronically ill brother, his terminally ill father, his, mother who was in a wheelchair. And that's a lot of pressure on one person. And he'd given up this teaching career that he loved to come home and do the right thing and care for the family. And I don't think he could have imagined he would have played, to date, 3 different continents. And, depending on how the festival run goes, we could be looking at 6 different continents.
Wow.
And we could be looking at about 30 different countries. So I just hope we've done him proud. I really do.
I think you guys absolutely did, because by the end of it, like I was talking to my friends last night after we watched it. We got together and watched it here. And I thought, man, my friend goes, would you watch that? I'd watch that entire 2-hour feature film in a movie theater. I'm sure it would kill like the full life on a farm, like Charles Carson's actual, feature length film. I go, is that available in any way? Like, do y'all have the actual 2-hour feature, or as you said, just about every clip in your documentary is what you have?
Right, exactly. And the stuff that, well, first of all, you made my day with that comment. Thank you. And, I've been fortunate enough to see it at a couple of in-person screenings. And, when you watch your movie like 100 times over to perfect it in post-production, you get a little sick of it. And, you need to step back and remove yourself. And it's just so nice to go into a screening with people and they just get it, and they're laughing at the right points, they're gasping at the right points. I'm not going to lie, I've seen a couple of people tearing up at the right points, which is immensely satisfying. But sorry, a little bit of a brain fart there. Yes. So we put the best stuff in there, and there's other footage, but some of it gets a little bit repetitive and sort of mundane and not the most entertaining way. You want to keep audiences' attention, and I think we've done that pretty well. There is just a little bit more stuff, but I promise you, the best stuff is all in the film.
Definitely. I'll be honest though, I could watch 30 minutes of skeletons falling off of.
I wish there was more of that. I really do.
When he does his first pratfall, he does his own stunts too. He's jumping off that tractor as a 60-plus-year-old man.
He's the Tom Cruise of Somerset.
Me and my friend Shannon here, we love found footage. Everything is terrible, TV carnage, all this stuff. We've been watching that stuff for years. Do you have any other found footage tapes or clips that you enjoy outside of A Life on the Farm?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, Jesus, where to start? I mean, I was already a fan of Nick and Joe's, before we met up. So, that was very satisfying. Trying to think if there's anything in particular. I mean, Winnebago Man is definitely a winner. I mean, I would just recommend watching VCR Party live, and then Red Letter Media. I'm sure you guys are fans. Mm-hmm. And they're in Milwaukee,
Yeah,
I'd love to keep up with all of that. You put me on the spot. Is there one particular found footage piece that I would recommend to people? Honestly, if you can find your own found footage, we need more. This is what's great about Everything is Terrible and Beckles with TV Carnage and Nick and Joe are doing, is we need more stuff like this. And I really hope that there's going to be more found footage that comes out of the woodwork, from the darkest corners of England. We need stuff from Australia, from South Africa, from, I don't know, Israel, Russia, Jamaica, anywhere. I really hope that we can make this found footage kind of movement more international, and that there's more stuff like, we say it in the film. I really believe there's a Charles Carson in every village in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just hope we find more people like him and more Jack Rebneys.
Absolutely. I mean,
just 1,000 tapes and 1,000 basements, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Just need someone to find him.
Exactly. Because just having a creative outlet like that, when with him, he does live a very isolated, lonely life. You can imagine there's so many people in that same boat.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just thought of one. It's a really good recommendation. So it's found audio. It's not quite found footage, but are you guys aware of Shut Up, Little Man?
I've heard of it.
I want to say I've heard it years ago.
It's a really good found audio documentary. That might be my favorite piece of found footage, even though it's technically audio. Yeah. But that's an extraordinary piece of found ephemera. And that documentary is amazing. I think it's on Tubi or Pluto. I would check out Shut Up, Little Man. That is my recommendation.
Absolutely. So A Life on the Farm is having its Texas premiere at FantasticFest this Sunday, September the 25th. Also will be available on FantasticFest at Home. So, anyone in the world can watch it streaming. Highly recommended.
Thank you.
It's a very entertaining 75 minutes. You want more. as you're watching it, it's fun, like I say, funny, heartfelt, a lot of important messages in there about life and death, and just as I get older, like I think about it, like I'm in my mid-30s now, and it's sometimes all I think about is death. I'm like, well, I gotta take care of these people and so on and so forth. And having a creative outlet like that, like this, I mean, even this podcast we're doing here, it's something that can take your mind off of things and give you a means to express yourself. So I just really think it's an incredible documentary.
Thank you.
I hope you guys have a fantastic premiere, and just wish you all the luck with getting it out there, because I really think the more people who see it, the better, in my opinion.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Oscar, anything else you'd like to plug before we wrap things up here?
Yeah, I mean, all I can think of is a very different type of movie that I produced about child refugees in former Czechoslovakia called HiMat. That's about to hit the festival circuit soon. So that's another story about another extraordinary old man in a very, very different way.
You sound like a very versatile filmmaker, Oscar. I gotta be
Thank
honest
you.
with you. Oscar Harding, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us. We really appreciate it, man. Oh, yeah.
All the best. Take care.